Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Quincy at Park Place, one of this city's oldest planned developments. Back in 1887, this property was bought to be developed by some rather wealthy Quincy natives. And if you're looking at the house behind me, this is one of the houses that's going to be on the Quincy Preserves Fall House Tour. There are other houses here in Park Place as well that are going to be on that same tour. And Barb McLean, it's something that Quincy Preserves, does every year. And what you want to do is draw attention to the history of Quincy and actually raise a little money to preserve that history in a better way, don't you?
Right, exactly. We use the money to fund things like money that the History Museum needs, or that the Dr. Eel's house needs, or any of the preservation projects that we feel are worthy. That money goes toward. We also have a facade program that we give money to for people who want to provide some matching funds. That's more for businesses. Yeah. And we'll give them matching money, and they pay part of it, and we pay part of it, and then they get a low interest loan. And all that goes towards preservation. And of course, Quincy's noted for that.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, and the house tours are beautiful. And this is kind of lucky for us at Illinois Stories, because we have done this before with you in the fall, and we get to go into some of these houses that we would not normally get to go into, and our viewers do too. Those that couldn't make the tour, or just it's kind of a treat. And you've picked one out for us here today. This house was built in the 1890s, shortly after this was developed, by this owner, the CEO, president of Dick's Brewery.
Correct. Everybody seems to know Dick's Brewery, which is really exciting. He sort of married into the family is what it was. And his wife was Anna Dick, and he built this home. It's not one of the very first ones here, but it was also the most expensive one.
It was, huh?
Yes, at the time it was built. They said it was going to be at a cost of $7,000, but they kind of anticipated that it would be $10,000 before it was all over.
As you look at it, you can see that it does have some sort of unusual characteristics. The stone goes all the way up to the bottom of the first window, which you don't see all the time. Right. And the porch is different, isn't it?
Yes, and that's almost a transition into prairie style. There were basically two types of architecture on this street, and one was that you had some prairie-style architecture, and you had Queen Anne or derivatives thereof, and this one is kind of a little bit, they think maybe a transitional house, which is probably why it wasn't one of the very first ones built here. The real estate developer built one of the first ones on the corner, and his other real estate developer built this home next door. The third developer, I guess, he was no longer part of or at least he didn't own a home here. But, that's significant, as well as some of the double bay windows on this house on the side, which have what they call zippered corners. That's really significant. And the style of architecture of the porch is definitely not Queen Anne. It's more, I think, probably Greek Revival or something like that. But inside, it's almost all Queen Anne, Victorian. So it's kind of a mix, and you'll see homes all along here that are a mix, and we'll see both kinds on the tour.
Well, we're going to come back and see this house in a little bit. This house, along with 3 others in this neighborhood, are on the tour.
Correct.
And there are a couple others. We're going to go to a John Benya house next, and we're going to see a modernistic house.
Amazing.
But later in the program, we're going to come back and look at this, and thank you for the info on Park Place.
You are more than welcome. Okay. Thank you.
Let's start our tour at 2409 South Country Club. Quincy architect John Benya built this house in the 50s, and Brian Inman, local television guy, has lived here for 3 years.
Yes.
What's it like living in a Benya house?
Well, we love it. It is one of those things where I had somebody else tell me this: once you live in one, you won't want to live in anything else. But it flows good, it feels good, and all of that whole kind of inside to the outside is what we really like about the house.
I remember, I've read a little bit about Frank Lloyd Wright, and there was always this bring the outside in, and Benya was kind of that way too, wasn't he?
He followed in that kind of a footstep and took that kind of approach toward a lot of his homes. But you can really see it, especially when you're inside. You can see how the roof, and you're looking at the roof, it just kind of flows to the inside, to the outside, and you can the glass is all there, so it really does make it feel like one is attached to the other.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned you've been here 3 years, and as we get a look at the house, you've got it in really nice condition now, but it wasn't like that 3 years ago, was it?
It wasn't.
Describe
the
what
folks,
it looked like.
they had moved out, and they were living in a different house, and so as you can tell, over time, when things, I guess, aren't tended to, they tend to start to kind of come apart. But it needed a new roof. The roof had been leaking on the inside of the house and then over there on the other side by the garage. So we had to put it on the roof, and that took up a chunk of the budget. And then we had to take out some trees that were here that had just outlived their, I guess you'd say, prettiness. And so each one of these gardens had a big pine tree in it, or blue spruce. So those all came out.
You can tell as you look at these look like they were planned very carefully. And in fact, Ben, you liked to do the outside as well, didn't he?
He liked to design the landscaping also. He did design this landscaping that's here. And each one of these gardens is on the plans. They're 8 foot by 8 foot. And then when you look at the house, each one of those little step backs is an 8 foot step back. So that all kind of flows. And that's the way he designed these gardens. They've been here since the house was built. The pea gravel on the ground is all part of the architect's plans. This little section here is all part of the plans, as well as the fountain. When we got here, the fountain was full of daylilies and dirt and rocks, and we excavated that out, dropped a liner in there, and put in the submersible pump. Like the elevations is all part of his plan too. This is one level. You can see a step up to the next level, and then there's another step to the next level. All of that is part of the architect's plans as far as the way the landscaping was supposed to be.
And you've got the plans, so you know this, right?
Yes, and we've looked at it all and kind of done our best to kind of keep things the way they were originally planned.
Now, as we get closer to the center, I'm looking at this, what appears to be flagstone here on the patio.
Yes.
That wasn't here, though, was it? That's newer.
I mean, as part of the architect's plans, he does have flagstone in the plans. The house was built in the mid-50s, but in the 40s there was a tornado that ripped apart one of the local Catholic churches, and all of the flagstone is busted up from that foundation or the concrete work there, and they've milled it or used it to put in this flagstone that looks like this. Same thing with all the rocks that are around the gardens, and those are all part of that church. And he was a devout Catholic and very active in the Catholic Church. The builder, Dr. Kuna, is who built the house originally.
Dr. Kuna, okay, and he knew it. He wanted some of that with him. He wanted to take it with him. Okay, we're going to make kind of a semicircle here, Brian, around the front of the house. There's another fountain here, but as we get into the driveway, this is a very unusual setup, and there's a reason why it looks the way it does.
There is. When we got here, originally the house was built just to have a carport. There were no garages to the house. At some time or another, they added a garage, and then there were 2 greenhouses out here, and the greenhouses were in a little bit too far a disrepair for us to bring back. So we tore those down, and eventually that'll be a 3rd-car garage. The garage doors that were originally here were wood and glass, and they had been rotted because of the leaking roof, and so those had to be replaced. So we did our best to make it match with what the front of the house looks like, and to try to bring it all together. On the front of the garage also was the barn siding, and that had been rotted. So when we did a little bit of construction on the inside of the house, we salvaged that brick and had some bricklayers come and put that on the front of the garage to kind of tie that in.
Okay. Good job. Good job. Can we see the inside?
You bet. Let's go.
Just slides easily, doesn't it?
This one does, yeah.
Oh man, now you see how all that glass sort of complements the inside of the house as well. You really got an open feeling, don't you?
And the roof, all of this pine, not only does it create the ceiling, but then it's also all the overhangs. So we talked about the inside
Bringing
to the outside,
right.
along with these floor-to-ceiling windows.
Oh wow, it's beautiful.
It's not just here, over there, and then the doors are 8 feet tall.
And you can't help but notice the furniture, Brian. What do you shop all the time for 50s furniture?
This has been fun to try to come together with finding all these little pieces, and I've got had some good help from some friends that have pointed out a couple of pieces to me. But yes, some of them of St. Louis, some of them come from.
You said the floors were rotten, and well, it's on a.
I would say it's rotten. The floor. There were no floors. There was originally, I think, not originally. Originally, the house was all cork floor, cork tile. That had gone by the wayside, but the folks that had lived here didn't have any carpet in the place, they had taken any carpet up and they painted the floors that are concrete. And that's, I think, the way they'd lived on it. But this, we put all this in to try to make it flow throughout.
It is. It's what a great space. These big gathering spaces. Where your entrance hall and the dining room and your den, I guess, in the back. It's all one space. And your kitchen, it opens up to the kitchen. But it didn't always, did it?
No. This wall looked just like the wall that is over on this side. We had some brick guys come in and cut this out to open it up so the kitchen is open to the dining room. In the original architect's plans, this 8-foot section was supposed to be open, but the homeowners wanted the kitchen to be separate. So that's the way they had the house built.
It's beautiful.
They had a little pass-through window, and that was it.
It's beautiful.
Opening up.
So this is all new too, because this would not have been here,
No,
right?
we opened this up and put in the new kitchen. The cabinets that were here had a little water rot on them, and so we had to take those out, and we put in this new kitchen.
Did he have an island there?
Originally, there was an island that had a stovetop in it. It was a little bit further over this way. It's hard to imagine, but originally this wall was not here, and the cabinets were suspended from the ceiling, so it was open to that hallway back
Here's
there.
another example of bringing the outside in. You've got a skylight here, and you actually have a garden area with a fountain.
There's a garden area, the fountain, the tree. The tree is live. I get that question. So, is that a real tree?
Oh,
I'm
it's
like,
a real
yes,
tree, all
that
right.
is a real tree.
Let bark.
And Archie and Edith in the water
you've
there
got
with Meathead.
You
That's
got your
the fish's
favorite
names,
fish
yes.
with you. Okay, back here we're not going to go back there because those are little bedrooms. John didn't go for the big bedrooms except for the master.
Right. So the bedrooms are small, and you deal with that space. But the master bedroom is large.
Oh, you've got it furnished too, just like the 50s. And the bed's in the middle.
And the bed is in the middle. And I know it kind of maybe feels a little weird, but that is the way that he designed the place. And originally, when they built the house, there was a built-in headboard with a couple of nightstands on it. And you look over here, there's a phone jack and an outlet in the floor over here. He was a doctor, and so he had a phone by his bed.
Yeah.
When the oldest daughter came, I'd ask her to come and tell us about the house, and she said, that was there originally, but then they got twin beds.
That's a personal story. We won't go into it.
But that is, and all of this is, all closet space,
Right.
floor to ceiling, all the way
and
down.
that was all here. That's all original. That's the way he
Yes,
planned it.
that's the way he planned
now,
it.
I'm going to ask you to go in the master that way. I'm going to go in the female side. You go in the male side. And
I'll
let's
go in
see
the
what
guy's
happens.
side, you go in the girl's
Okay.
bathroom.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, this is the girl's side. Okay.
So
now this is not big, but you got to remember there are two bathrooms just side by side like this, right?
yes.
Sharing a bathtub.
So it shares a bathtub, it shares a walk-through shower. There's a his side sink and a his side toilet, and the same thing on that side. There's a her side sink and a her side
that's
toilet.
funny.
So it is a little odd, yes.
Okay. And there's a shower with two doors.
Shower that is a walk-through, yes.
Okay.
And then that leads out to the patio space.
And that's so nice too. If you've got your privacy taken care of because you've got
We close up
drapes
those
there.
drapes at night, and that takes care of that.
Very nice. That's that big patio we saw from
Yes.
outside.
And then when you walk over this way, just off of the master bedroom, is what was his office, Dr. Kuhner's office, and Ben just designed this little open office space. It was, hard to find a little small 3-foot desk finished on both sides, but I found that down near St. Louis, and it fits. But that is kind of just, he could sit here and basically see through the whole house.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Brian, thank you so much. This is really, it's a clever layout, and you've done a lot with it. It's really nice. Thanks for letting us come in and take a look.
You bet.
Well, Angela Gutting, it's interesting. You've been collecting antiques all your life, right? Even as a little
Forever.
kid, you'd take
Forever.
your bicycle out to the antique shop, and your little you'd put as much as you could in your little basket, right? Mm-hmm. So you end up with one of the oldest and most expensive houses on this Park Place block, and you get in. It's unfurnished. And you bring everything in with you that furnished this 1897 house, and it
Yes.
looks spectacular.
Thank you, thank you. It's been work. It's been a lot of fun. It kind of always was my goal to have a big Victorian home like this. And I've certainly purchased some things since I moved in, but for the most part, yeah. And it's good to see it again. It was in storage for a long time.
Yeah. Now you know why you saved it and hauled it all over the world with you, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I want to look at some of these. You have some, and I assume some of this came with the house, but we were talking about the Dorkenwalds, how he was the president and CEO of Dick's Brewery.
Yes.
This is a capital stock certificate with his name on it for 100 shares. So, wow, that's a real keepsake, isn't it?
Yes, that's very nice to have. That in the picture.
Oh, Dick Brothers
and
Brewing, yeah.
Which is down on 5th in York. And then the two pictures above, of course, are from the Quincy Preservation Commission.
Local landmark, yep.
Yeah, designated in 1993.
Very nice.
So those were here. That's really the only thing that was in the house, other than the carpet on the stairs.
That stayed.
Yes.
Yep. Now, you know, one of the first things I noticed when we walked in here, I noticed that every room with this old hardwood floor has its own inlay pattern.
Each room, from the front parlor to the gentleman's parlor, the foyer, and the dining room, has its own specific pattern. And then even in the upstairs hallway, there is a small inlay. It's nothing.
Fascinating.
You know, nothing as intricate as down here.
Before we leave this room, though, let's take a look at here. When you look at the stairway that goes up, the owners before you took great pains to make this look as it would have, but this did have to be replaced. This is new.
Yes, the staircase and the paneling down on the right side, and then this part of the staircase is new. This home was a two-family home at one time. One was downstairs and one was upstairs. Right. And this would have been closed off as the entryway to go upstairs.
So that had to be changed. They changed the original pattern. We think the original stairs would have come down there somewhere.
I think something like this. I really don't know. I haven't lived here. I've lived here, 9 months, and most of that time has been trying to unpack.
Trying to unpack and discover what you could, right?
Yes, discover what I have and
let's move into the parlor, and as we look, see how the floor changes? This is now the parlor inlay.
And of course, they always put the most intricate at the front. Because when back in the day, when people came in, this is where someone would have been ushered to sit and wait, for the lady of the house to come down the stairs or whatever. So you wanted to have the most intricate, fanciest
see the best
here.
part of the house for the guests, right?
That's exactly right. And I know they had twin sons. August and Anna had twin sons. And one was August and one was Edward. August Jr. and Edward. And so I don't know if they met their lady friends on a little settee in here or not.
Well, we know that we didn't put them in front of the television set. We know that. This window that's above your parlor here, now we only see part of it, but we'll see the same window throughout the house. That's a repeating theme, isn't it?
Yes, that is. There's 3 leaded windows in the house. There's one here, and then there's one in the split fireplace in the dining room. And then there's also was one as you go up into the attic, where up in the attic it would have been a ballroom, at the time, because at the time there weren't restaurants around every corner, and there weren't, there wasn't a bar where the ladies could go and be proper. So they would come to people's homes and have their meal, maybe sit on the lawn, and if they wanted to dance, they would go up in the attic and shine the floors up and, have a grand time up there. Yes, so the window that would have went up in there like this is now in the kitchen.
Oh, we'll get a chance to see that too.
Yes, we sure will. Yes, it's lovely.
Now, before we leave this room and go to the dining room, I love the way you pointed this out to me. I got the old pocket doors, which still slide open and closed. But as you can see here, this is the lighter wood work from the parlor. And then it goes over to a darker, I think maybe a darker oak here in the dining room.
I would guess that this is oak, yes.
Yeah. Oh, and then again, look here. Here it changes again. We've got a whole different inlay here for the dining room. I love it.
And it's just so lovely that all of that, it's just in such wonderful condition. You can see some places, and in the basement there was a pile of all kinds of wood, and tongue and groove boards where things maybe have changed around a bit in the house. But there are some places where there's extra inlay downstairs.
Oh, be darned. No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's...
And then you can see where the boards come into the corners here, like over here there's kind of a zigzag pattern. Yeah.
Well, these floors have been walked on a lot, so the fact that they've had little traffic marks on them, that's not a bad thing.
No, I actually love the look of a little used.
You bet.
A little
Here
used.
we are again with that leaded window, and this is the same theme that goes throughout. It's beautiful, right above the fireplace.
Yes.
And gorgeous mantle.
Yes.
Just gorgeous mantle.
Thank you.
And of course, you had we mentioned this, you've had to furnish everything yourself.
Yes, I did. I did furnish everything. I bought the table here in Quincy and the chairs.
You're fortunate to have a modern kitchen. Now, this was always the kitchen area.
I believe.
But we believe, you believe.
Yes.
But it must have been in some pretty rough condition, because back in the 90s they decided to do this, and boy, did they do a nice job.
Yeah, it's it's lovely. It really is. It's all butternut. It's all handmade, hand built in, and it even has, with this, some of the modern.
Oh,
where
sure,
you can pull
slide out
this
spice cabinet.
Yeah,
look at that.
where you can put your food.
Yeah, oh, that's neat.
Yeah, it has. Well, I know I had read, there was an article in the Herald Whig, the people that did this, Terry Boyd and his wife, the people who lived here and did so much, they had talked about, with the carpenter trying to figure out a way to hide the refrigerator, because when you sit in the front parlor, all you could see was the refrigerator. So they came up with this, and then it goes through to the other side, and there's cabinets on the other side like this also.
Wow.
So yes. And the floor is original. I've read an article where Mr. Boyd and his son stripped layers and layers of, you can imagine, carpet, linoleum.
Well, at least they were able to save it. I mean, I thought maybe there had been a flood, maybe water had poured over this and that's why they tore it out. But obviously the floor is still in good conditions.
Yeah.
And here we go again. I mean, look here. Now this is that big spherical one. Where'd this come from?
This was the one that was on the staircase as you go into the attic. This is the one where you go into the attic so you could let light in, because they would have had to have used lanterns like this or candles to get up there.
Sure.
The next project is a marble countertop.
Well, that'll look real nice. But I like your kitchen the way it is.
Yeah.
But that's a beautiful thing to have.
Yes,
and
thank you.
Why would you want it up there anyway?
Well, I know. That's what I wondered. Because when I came in here and I saw it, and I thought, I wonder where that came from, because that's certainly not an original kitchen thing.
Beautiful. Okay, now while staying on this floor, we still get to go back a little ways, and the house did the house go back this far originally? Oh, wait.
Yes.
We gotta see this room. Look, here we go again. Look, with this another fancy inlay here. This would have been another parlor, huh?
Yes, this is the gentleman's parlor. Has a really lovely fireplace, and it's rather a disaster right now because it's getting a new ceiling, and the cabinets are going to come out.
But look here, this is a monster.
Yeah, this
is this when those cabinets come out? This is going to go in there?
Yeah, when I get those pulled out, this will go over there, and then the sofa will be moved back around where you can actually see the fireplace.
Look how big this thing is, though, and you've been hauling this around for years, huh?
Yes.
Oh,
This was my first real antique purchase, a large item purchase, and I got this at Gregory's Antiques in Cahokia, the one from years ago. Yeah.
So parlor, and this is going to stay. This will stay parlor-y. Yeah,
yes.
Parlor-y. And then we have back to the back end of the house.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is kind of like your little office space, huh?
This is my office. I've done a lot of traveling in the world and purchased things, and this is kind of where I keep that. And then I have gardening books and cookbooks. And
old typewriters.
Yes, just all kinds of things.
Dick's Brothers memorabilia.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're way behind on that. Some of these local guys have massive collections. They've got it all.
I know, that's the problem.
And you're going to have to spend a bundle to get any of it.
I know. I had seen a crate at one point where you could just barely see the Dicks on it. $75.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we may wait on that.
Yeah. All right, after you, Angela.
All right. So I'll explain this little area to you. This is called a Turkish corner. And a lot of times in a home, people would have either an entire room dedicated to rather exotic oriental things, or they would have a corner. And a lot of Victorians just had a corner because they had so many kids, they didn't have the space. So I've done some traveling in Morocco and Algeria, and I've brought things home and tried to put some credence to the Victorian area.
A little Moroccan corner here.
Yes, that's right.
All right. It's very cute.
Great.
If you had a bigger now if you had one of those huge Victorian landings, then you could really fill it up, couldn't you?
Yes, I could really shop then.
Okay. Now this looks, the paper looks like it's been here ever since they built the house.
It does. I don't believe so.
Yeah.
I believe it's newer, but it is.
It certainly is that style, isn't it?
Yes, it works perfect. It works perfect. Yes, I was very fortunate when I moved here. The floors were in wonderful shape, and the walls. I do plan on doing some papering in some of the rooms, but Yeah.
This would have been the master bedroom all along, and then
Yes.
the folks who lived here before you put an en-suite bathroom in there. So now you've got a nice big modern bathroom as well. So it's just really nice.
Yeah. And this would have been August and Anna Dorkenwald's bedroom, and they both died at home. And they died in their beds at home, which of course was how it was. And so this would have been the room, and they had their funerals here and everything. Of course, that's why those huge double doors downstairs to get the coffin in and out.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
Really?
that's why a lot of these houses, they either have those huge doors that open like this, or they have really wide single doors to get the coffin and the beer, to put it on to take it in and out. And then they had the services here.
Well, I knew that, but it never occurred to me that they'd need the big doorways for the coffins. Yeah. Okay, and then upstairs you're still getting settled, but
Yes.
you do have this little nook room here all ready to go, don't you?
Yes, this
So it's a
is
sewing room.
This is my sewing room, although there's not much sewing that goes on in here, at least on my part. I have my grandmother's innards sewing machine, and then my great-grandmother Bushling's clothing from the 1850s.
Isn't that something?
And her bonnet, and just things I've collected over the years.
And a machine that she would have sewn on.
I
right?
remember actually as a kid her sewing and making me doll clothes on that. And I would sit, and of course it was fun because it has the treadle, and you could just go crazy on the treadle as a kid. And but yes, you can see her pincushion on top, a piece of leather tied on there. So yeah, this is, and there's a few more things I want to do in here. I just, it just takes time.
Everything takes time.
Yeah, you get a big house like this, and it just kind of takes time.
Time kind of stands still sometimes in some of these places, too.
Yeah. That's been my goal to, to really try to maintain the authenticity of this home. And I've had people come in and tell me it's like walking back in time.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you so much. That's really, really what I want to hear.
Well, thank you for sharing it with us.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay,
thank
Angela,
you so
thank
much.
You. Well, this is just one of those homes that's on the Quincy Preserves Fall Tour. They do it every year, and as you know, in Quincy, there's no shortage of historic homes to tour. With another Illinois story in Quincy, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send 1995 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.